This week we have a clash between female strawweights Mackenzie Dern and Angela Hill in the main event, and I have the betting tips, technical breakdown, and prediction for you. So we're going to start this one off a bit differently. We're going to run through some quick picks for the undercards, and then we're going to get into some further deep dive analysis for the main 3 fights that we see on this card. So let's get into it. Takashi Sato versus Themba Gorimbo. Super low level fight. Takashi Sato has been on a bit of a downward trend. I thought he actually would have a good chance against Battle, and he got absolutely horrifically knocked out. Taking on Themba Gorimbo, who we've only seen once before, looked pretty low level. To me, this is a bit of a 50-50 fight. I'm banking on Gorimbo being the more athletic guy, having a little bit more to give, and I'm going to take him. Victoria Leonardo versus Natalia Silva. The odds reflect it. This is a mismatch. Leonardo is sort of a pressure wrestler coming up against Natalia Silva, who is, looking really good in her striking, and she's also got a number of submissions on her record. I think Natalia Silva really has some talent. I think she's going to be something special, and I think she should dominate Victoria Leonardo in this one and probably get her out of there. So next, we have Chase Hooper taking on Nick Fiore. This should be a fun grappling match. Chase Hooper moving up to lightweight for this one. I'm going to side with Nick Fiore. I think he can hold himself on the ground with Hooper, although Hooper does have those long limbs, which does sort of worry me in these grappling exchanges. But I think Nick Fiore's, smaller center of gravity and his ability to just keep up with Hooper in these grappling exchanges will probably lead him to win the fight in the striking realm. Next, we got Ilir Latifi taking on Rodrigo Nascimento. Again, pretty low-level fight. Ilir Latifi coming off his last fight where he went in injured, staff, all that kind of thing. He does scare me late in the career. I don't think he has much to give, and he's coming up against, a really big guy. A guy who can really do well in the grappling area in Rodrigo Nascimento. I think, Ilir doesn't have a neck, so he can't get choked out, but I think Rodrigo will be threatening submissions. He potentially might find one, but I think he can just kind of win in more areas. So I'm going to take Rodrigo Nascimento. The next, and as is sort of the go with this card, you have another low-level fight between Orion Cochet taking on Gilbert Urbina. Again, this is a pretty close fight. If Orion wins, it's going to be, as the Cochet brothers do, kind of just be boring and smother and forward pressure and just absorb the shots you have and keep wrestling you basically against Gilbert Urbina, who, is coming off tough, didn't look amazing, but, he's kind of okay everywhere, but not really good anywhere. I think Gilbert might actually win this fight off the back of his striking. I think he might be able to negate the wrestling, and I think on the feet, he's probably the better striker. So I'm going to take Gilbert Urbina. In the next fight, we've got Karolina Kowalkiewicz taking on Vanessa Demopoulos. I'm not really impressed with Vanessa Demopoulos. On the feet, she is so technically unaware, and, we've seen her get absolutely caught before, and what saved her is that she has quite a good grappling base. She's able to throw up these submissions and catch these girls in sort of these low-level, women's armbar from guard sort of scenarios. I don't think Karolina is that unaware on the ground. I think she has enough to sort of smother these attempts, and on the feet, I favor her. So the pick is going to be Karolina Kowalkiewicz. The next, we got Mahashate taking on Vyacheslav Borshev. This is a good fight. Borshev is coming off the back of getting dominated in the wrestling arena by his last 2 opponents, and he's a Muay Thai guy, got a kickboxing background, and he's coming up here against Mahashate, who is coming off the back of knocking Steve Garcia out on the feet, where he looked really impressive, and I think he won as a pretty decent underdog in that one, and he's coming in as another underdog here. I think this is a close fight. On the feet, it's pretty close. I actually think Mahashate is able to throw in some wrestling and some grappling if need be. I think the odds are probably slightly out. I think this is a closer fight than you would think. For now, the pick's going to be Vyacheslav Borshev. I think on the feet, he's probably got more weapons, more attacks. I just don't think Mahashate is going to have enough in the wrestling base to threaten him. And the next one is a super fun one. We've got Michael Johnson taking on Diego Ferreira. This is a super fun fight between 2 guys who have been around for a while. You've got Michael Johnson, who has one of the most sketchiest records, I would say, in that he could have been something so amazing. Like he's had such good performances against such good talent in first rounds and then kind of fallen off cliffs and things like that, which is a shame. But he is a really talented guy when he puts it all together, which hopefully we see here. And he's coming up against Diego Ferreira, who also has had, a very good career against very tough guys. He's made a career of holding up in the striking arena, being able to grapple, wrestle, and being really good everywhere, to be honest with you. In his last sort of 3 fights, I would say he's kind of slowed down quite a lot due to his age. and his skill level has definitely gone down, albeit against better competition than Michael Johnson. In this one, Michael Johnson's very, very well known for his wrestling defense, and I think that's going to hold up here. I think if Diego's trying to shoot, I think Michael Johnson will be able to stuff takedowns. And on the feet, I think the southpaw Michael Johnson is just going to dominate with that backhand. He's got more power, he's got faster hands, and I think he's a real good underdog this week. So I'm taking Michael Johnson. Next fight, we've got Emily Ducote taking on Lupita Godinez. This is a pretty ugly fight to pick, if I'm honest with you. We've been on Lupi a fair amount in her career. Like, she can be so good when she wants to, especially with the wrestling. She's very grinding, very in your face. She's got very good durability, like that Mexican sort of background normally do. But she just doesn't put it all together. Like, she strikes when she should wrestle. She wrestles when she should strike. I don't know if it's her or her game plan or her coach or whatever it is, but makes it super hard to back, as a betting angle. And she's coming up against Emily Ducote, who has had 2 fights in her UFC career. It looked really good against Jessica Penne, where we had her pretty heavy, and she just, leg kicked, outstruck Penne, stuffed the takedowns, and just dominated her in that one. And then the next one against Angela Hill, and she literally stood in the middle, frozen, not wanting to throw for 3 rounds. Such a bizarre change between fights that I've seen in a long time. So I have no interest in being on either side in this one. I don't know what I'm going to get from either of these girls. I think Ducote is better on the feet if she throws, and I think Lupita has the far better wrestling if she wrestles. Who knows what we're going to get? I'm probably going to side with Lupi, the durability and the ability to just push forward. Even though it is on short notice, she's in good shape and she takes these fights fairly regularly, so that doesn't faze me too much. Close fight, but I'm going to take Lupita Godinez. So the next fight we're going to break down, we got Andre Fialho taking on Joaquin Buckley. So we're going to do a bit of a longer one into this one. Joaquin Buckley dropping back down to welterweight after being at middleweight for a fair while. He has been at welterweight before in his career, so I'm not hugely worried about the cut down, but definitely will be waiting to see him on the scales before making a play on either side in this one. He's taking on Andre Fialho, who was super, super active in the beginning of his UFC career. Took about 4 fights really quickly against differing competition, I would say. Like, he looked really good on short notice against Michel Pereira, who's a tough guy in this division, and he looked really good. And then he got a few tune-up fights, I would say. Cameron Van Camp absolutely dominated him in the first round like he should have. And then just got dominated by Jake Matthews in the boxing area, which is really Fialho's bread and butter, which is a tough watch. And then he's coming back here. I worry about the durability of Fialho at this stage. He's taken a lot of shots in his career, and he's coming up against Buckley, who is kind of just threatening everywhere. He doesn't wrestle a whole lot, and I think that's due to cardio issues, but if he wants to wrestle, he can. He's explosive, he's short, so he's able to get down and, shoot through you. He's muscly, he's physically strong, so even if he doesn't get you first, he'll, take several shots and take you down. Once he's on top, likes to lean ground and pound rather than submissions, but he's just kind of a physical specimen in there, like very explosive, and everything he does, he throws 100% into, which does worry me if this fight, goes late and maybe Fialho has a little bit to give if he hasn't worn, a massive amount of damage. Yeah, this is a pretty close fight. If both men are at 100%, I think Buckley's probably got more, given that he's the more well-rounded, more versatile mixed martial artist. I don't think he'll probably engage too much in the pocket, which I think Fialho can have some success in that area, just with the hand speed and sort of the technical striking. Fialho is very, very good with that left hook, whereas Buckley, can sometimes be defensively unaware, but it's normally on the back of straight shots and length disadvantages where he's not going to have, a massive one here. So this is a close fight, but I'm going to rely on Joaquin Buckley to, mix up the wrestling, mix up the takedowns, mix up the hands, probably catch Andre Fialho. I worry about the durability, and Buckley hits hard and he's quick. So I think he might catch Fialho, and going to take Joaquin Buckley via TKO in round 2. So on to the co-main event of the evening. We have Edmund Shabazian taking on Anthony Hernandez. And as is the story of this card, this is an utterly horrific fight to try and break down. Both of these men have had some highs in their career. I would say probably more so to the Edmund side, but at the same time, he has definitely had far more lows. What has caused these lows? Well, after a very hot start to his career with Edmund, steamrolling a fair few decent gatekeepers in the division, he, started to run into a few fighters with that really solid grappling prowess. And that's what happens when you get into the upper echelon of the division. These guys get more well-rounded, more athletic, more committed, more mentally tough, and it's just a tougher fight. And as a young guy, he just couldn't keep up with that. We saw Edmund be able to get taken down, smothered with the top pressure. When he did receive this, we saw him wilt. Off his back, Edmund is very liable to get held down, get ground and pounded, and really damaged. But he has never really been completely finished, which I think is one small positive he can take away. But, his inability to threaten off his back or, move himself to a more advantageous position, it's super worrying to me. So what type of fighter is he coming up against here? Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Fluffy is a great smothering, grappling, heavy style of fighter. He's excellent at pressuring you, closing range, closing distance, and using a variety of takedowns, whether it's trips, it's throws, it's double legs, just constantly wearing on you by advancing position. He uses his body weight to wear you down, and he'll just constantly mat return you over and over and over. He is just such a presence in there and is able to wear on you physically. He has, grinding pressure, but at the same time, he's extremely hittable, especially early in the fight. He has faced some adversity in his career, and it's mostly in, the first round or the first 5 to 10 minutes. But generally, if he gets past that, he is good to sort of wear on his opponent and take over. A few things to note in this one. Edmund is coming off the back of I would say, semi-lackluster win against Dalchalungambula, and he is fresh off a move to Extreme Couture, which honestly, I would say is probably top 2 camps to fight a guy like Fluffy. They have so many guys in there that, have that solid wrestling base, good stand-up, and I think that's actually going to complement Edmund's game really well compared to the guy that used to yell head movement, head movement. So I think on the feet, the technicality of Edmund will really worry Fluffy. I think Edmund's really good at using his straight shots, keeping on the outside, throwing those straight shots, those long kicks, and sort of staying out of the pocket. I think the technicality of Edmund will really worry Fluffy early. And if we see a game plan to target the body of Fluffy, I think Edmund's super live to finish him early. If he doesn't and just looks to headhunt, I think it is probably only a matter of time till Fluffy gets him down and smothers him. I think this is probably a closer fight than the odds would indicate. It's fun matchmaking. Edmund is sort of a complete basket case, but I actually think we'll probably see an improved version of him here. I just have this weird feeling that Fluffy is going to be over aggressive and he's going to pay for it. I think this is a dangerous pick, and I don't, hate anyone for going the Fluffy side. I think everything's in his corner. I just have this weird feeling about this one. So I'm going to take Edmund Shahbazian via TKO in round 1. Now, onto the main event of the evening. We've got Mackenzie Dern taking on Angela Hill. I don't want to talk too much about this main event because it is, lackluster and hard to get around, but it should be a fun card. So on to the main event. Dern, we know what she is, BJJ expert, very high level, extremely comfortable working off her back. She's happy to pull guard, jump guard, given she has zero wrestling. She has a very scary guard to come up against for anyone who isn't extremely technical on the ground, especially in scrambles, as she's so liable to just flow through positions. And I think in this weight division, it is a great tool. She's been with Jason Perillo and Ruka Sport for a fair few years now. I thought she was green early. I still think she is green, man. She has no head movement, but you can give to her that she is durable and she's pretty gritty for a pretty cute woman, I would say. She has a bit in the tank and she's all right to take shots and keep moving forward, which I do like about her. I think the way she closes distance is awful, if I'm honest. She is not good. She's not intelligent like that. And I think anyone with remotely decent footwork is able to stay on the outside and make her struggle, which we have seen in her career so far. She looks super uncomfortable in striking areas. She likes to rush people with her head down, which is just a bad habit. And one thing that also frustrates me, and I talk about this week after week with these BJJ guys, Gordon Gracie being the latest example, but there is just something extremely frustrating about these BJJ experts who are elite off their back or on top, but they just can't wrestle. They can't get the fight to where they need it. It is just, I just cannot wrap my head around it. It's hilariously stupid, but, it is what it is. Yeah, like I said, her ability to cycle through positions, threaten different submissions, really is a sight to watch. I think I've talked about this before, but in a Tisha Torres fight, she jumped guard against the fence. She threatened initially with a Kimura in the seating, standing position. Then she threatened with an armbar to a knee bar to a footlock. Her flow is very, very impressive. I think if she was more comfortable, sort of slower on the feet, more technical with just the jab at least, just to, find range, threaten things, get Angela Hill to cover up and then shoot or something like that, it would just benefit her in the long run. So on to Angela Hill. To me, Angela Hill is a much more known commodity, and what I know about her is that she is utterly boring. She has okay striking with a Muay Thai background. She relies on her volume, but has absolutely zero power. Max Holloway has a record of eating over 1,000 significant strikes and never being dropped. Well, if you don't know Angela Hill, she is more or less the complete opposite of that. With her striking, she has good straight shots. The jab specifically is decent, but I just don't think she's going to have anything to really worry Dern. Like, Dern is just going to push through, man. I think Hill is obviously going to be throwing a higher work rate, higher volume, but not offering too much of a threat in terms of danger. She's a good point fighter and she has the ability to strike away to comfortable decisions, but that's against a certain level of opponent. She doesn't have great wrestling defense, and it is going to be interesting to see if Dern is able to get this one to the ground with some wrestling exchanges. I think she's a good chance of it, if I'm completely honest. And we see this time and time again in Angela Hill fights. Like, the opponent, she will land more shots. The opponent will land more damaging shots. It goes to split decision. It's boring. It's overdone. And we see it time after time. This fight is an absolute shocker to try and call. You've got Dern, who is winless in main events, and you have Hill, who is the queen of split decisions. Honestly, I think Hill is probably going to be the minute winner, like she always is, given she has more striking technique offensively and defensively, but she's just got absolutely nothing on her shots, and I think Dern is going to be like a bull in a china shop moving forward, I think, that loss to Yan Xiaonan is probably lit a fire under her ass. Because she did really, really well in that round 2 and that round 5 where she engaged specifically to grapple. And I don't think on the ground Hill has anything for Dern. I think Dern's grappling will shine here. It's an ugly fight, but it is what it is. I'm going to take Mackenzie Dern via sub in round 2. So that wraps up the breakdowns for the UFC this weekend, guys. Good week last week. I'll have the bets on the screen here. We went plus 4.4 units. Started super strong. Lost a couple late, but yeah, it was a positive night, which is always good. Looks like a decent betting card here. There's going to be a few underdogs we're going to play. So make sure you keep our eyes on the Instagram. We've actually got an email list going. So every Saturday morning after weigh-ins, we send out our bets and our plays for the week. If you want to get involved in that, make sure you head over to the Instagram at ascendant.mma and leave your email there, or you can leave your email in the comments and we'll add you. Excited that UFC is back. We got some sick announcements recently, and we got some big fights coming up post UFC 289, which is going to be a snoozer apart from a couple. So yeah, we just need to get through this little period of these, underwhelming fights and fight cards, and then we're back in business. It's just how it happens when you have so many big names on one card. You get these lackluster events. But I think this week's going to be fun. There'll be a lot of violence, a lot of action. So we're going to make some money. So make sure you stay tuned and keep an eye on the channel. Make sure you subscribe, like the video if you haven't. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.